on the adventure of Mr. Tom Jensen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first meeting of the Nouveau Situationist in this air. Thank you for coming. Let me tell you the story of the Situationists. In 1968, May, the streets of Paris burned. The workers were dissatisfied. De Gaulle was giving the money away. And so, the students of the Art College took the building. They were going to spread their propaganda. They claimed the printing studios. Thousands of silk posters were released. The most famous of all, a picture of a young woman, arm back, brick in mid-air. Above her, the beauty est dans la rue. The beauty is in the streets. And that, my friends, is what we're here to investigate. We, as situationists, are here to find beauty. We're here to find heroes. So, Lawrence is undoing his trousers. So, this is the thing. We're looking for two things. Is it outside and is it beautiful? Lawrence undoing his trousers. Outside, not necessarily beautiful. Now, I'm aware that most of you are quite hungover at the moment. Unfortunately, we've been chosen right next to the bells of St. Paul's. Just very quickly, for those of you who want to know a little bit of information, St. Paul's, built by Christopher Wren after the Great Fire of London in 1666. Now, the problem the British have, and still to this day, is we put all our buildings next to each other. So when the fire spread, it jumped and jumped and jumped, but gave Wren a chance to renovate the city. We are currently on top of Ludgate Hill. We are in the highest point in the city of London. Not in London, but in the city of London. It's a mess. And that is the second biggest cathedral in the country after Liverpool. So, as I said, we'll make this quick. We are going to go that way. But first of all, I have a quick reading from Campbell. The multitude of men and women choose the less adventurous way of the comparatively unconscious civic and tribal routine. But these seekers too are saved by virtue of the inherited symbolic aid of society, the rites of passage, the grace of yielding sacrament given to mankind of old by the Redeemers and handed down through millenniums. It is only those who know neither an inner call nor outer doctrine is quite truly is desperate. Fair to say, most of us today, in this labyrinth without and within the heart. Alas, where is this guide, the fond Virgin Ariadne, to supply the simple clue that will give us the courage to face the Minotaur and the means then to find our way to freedom when the monster has been met and slain. So, I hope you bought snacks. If you haven't, we've got fruit pastels and polos. You might also want tissues. This might get a little weepy.
Follow that man.
Follow that man.
On your wank.
Would you like it? Again, if you see anything interesting, be sure to point it out to the group. Anything interesting?
Shoe repairs.
Beautiful. Outside, yes.
I think it's pretty awesome how the curve of this building mirrors the curve of the road. It's very intentional. This building is outside.
Go to the Museum of London.
We could, but we're going.
If I stop, I walk you alone.
Keep walking. Just keep walking, just keep walking.
Hello.
Silver Jubilee walkway.
Yeah. The BT building. Neither beautiful or outside.
It's functional. We passed the Sky building and we go in and ask why the internet's not working.
Look at that pretty gate though. That's neat.
Okay, first step. This used to be the post office, GPO. So, yeah, see, Postmaster General. Old building.
Oh, I forgot what it was. This is what it is. I'm so glad this pump station's on video.
Beautiful. Isn't it fun when you draw arbitrary routes? Okay, now I think I've fast this side. This is there you go. Please use the nearby payphone.
Or your mobile if you live in this decade.
Really small target.
Okay, this is where we are headed to. This is Postman's Park. This was, as you can see, the post office just there, where the postman would come to have their lunches. That's called church there. What interests us most of all, though, is this. This is Watts Memorial for heroic self-sacrifice. Every single plaque here is someone who has died in saving another person. Particularly interesting on the top right, when you see it closer, is a plaque put up in 2009, with the only new one for a man who dove into a canal to save a child and then drowned himself. So, as I said, this is quite intense. A few years ago, I saw a company called Lone Twin who did a show called Daniel Hit by a Train, in which they covered every single one of these plaques. The story. Again, I thought, well, quite. The reason I decided to come here is, a few years ago, a friend of mine said, "You've got to go here," pulled an article out of a newspaper and just shoved it in my mouth. Take that, he was drunk. I just think it's worth, this is one of the hidden secrets of London, really. I think, as artists, it's worth just going to have a look at this to see this. Again, you might cry.
I don't want to be insensitive, but what sort of man drowns in a canal? Like, they don't move that quick.
Yeah. He got tangled up in the weeds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's my mum, actually.
Like a river, maybe. Even a stream, a brook, I can imagine it, but a
Will
canal.
you stop bitching?
Could he swim?
Clearly not.
The article was about interesting places to have lunch in London. So, actually, I think there we go. Postman's Park. If you're ever in St. Paul's area, this is a great little lunch spot. The unique feature is the memorial to heroic self-sacrifice, with plaques commemorating those who died trying to save others. They date from the 1800s to 1930s, and the youngest hero was aged just 8. Bring your Kleenex, because this was written before the news. Yes! No, she's looking for beauty.
And the American has fucked off. There we go.
Benches. There's quite a lot. There's a sweet one over there that's commemorating those women who kept working in the post office during the Blitz. Can you find these nice little lamps? There you go. Leave it.
I mean, like, in order to get the child out of the canal, you had to be very close to the edge. There's the rest of them here. A lot of fires.
A lot of fires, a lot of drowning, a lot of train accidents. There's a really, the 8-year-old back there.
Where?
His, his sister got too near to a fire and went up, and he managed to get her clothes off, but set himself on fire and died of burns and shock.
Sugar found responsibility, immediately scolded and returned to search for his mate. It sounds so like connective. His mate, you know, there was two of them searching for one another.
There's been a lot of controversy about people want to keep on his ears, so that I think what's wanting to do back into
Purity is honor. These wouldn't mean anything. It's not. It's just a collection of names. There's a lot missing from some of these stuff.
There is actually an app you can get. It's in here in Victoria. In retrospect, I'm going to download it. I think it's particularly interesting. Exactly what I was thinking of. So many children here.
He was very shocked to see a train in a swimming pool. When I was a kid, I was greatly misled as to how often I would encounter quicksand and what sort of danger quicksand would be in my life.
It's one of those things. It's a bit like preparation for a zombie apocalypse. You think, what would I do? Get ready.
And you lie back.
Yeah, that's how you know. So because if you struggle, you sink.
What's the range of jobs?
So what line is one before? For a lot of these people, it's quite silly. I mean, what's the first thing you learn in first aid?
I think they didn't teach first aid.
They didn't
in
teach first aid in
1888.
1888, no.
But
There's young people who sort of made bad decisions.
And some of these are about 10.
Yeah. It's amazing how many of these seem to be children. A lot of children trying to save their siblings.
I guess there's something nice, beautiful in that.
Yeah.
In that,
Well,
in that desperation.
here's that thing of going, you don't know if you would until you're in that moment that you dive into the river. So you can't.
You'd like to think.
You'd like to think you would.
Really know if you
And it's always, you know, the people you don't expect. I mean, this is going to sound really weird, but I've just been over the net to Dad's aunt, where they're talking about the First World War, and Private Godfrey's saying, well, you know, I was a pacifist, and they're like, so they turn against him, they present him with white feathers, saying you're a coward, and then it comes out that he actually was rewarded because he worked for the ambulance and would be the one on the front line taking people back. You know, it's that, you know, the idea of self-sacrifice for those things. And it's, again, it's the people who have bluster who would freeze, and then, you know, the 10-year-old child throws himself into it. And this, you know, stopping a woman from trying herself and getting hit by the train herself. A lot of drowning, a lot of trains, lots of
Mainly drowning in trains.
yeah. In the show, they
Very
actually,
surprised that the train is arrived.
they actually decided to put all the drowning together, because then it was someone going, "Oh, I'm over here. Don't worry, I'm coming to get you. I'm over here now. I'm coming to get you." You know, so it's. I'd love to see the show again, especially now with Lee Pitt. See if it. Yeah. The booming.
So you have a U in 1871.
Then there's this guy who was a railway clerk, but then was killed by drowning. They're combining the two together.
Stressing man from a dangerous entanglement.
As I said, this.
It's a new way of saying weed killer.
I mean, most people just walk past this place. So the article was like, places to go have your lunch in London. Come have a snack in. That's why I thought we could bring a snack and just. Yeah.
Who wants to take the camera? Because frankly, my arm's getting sore.
But this whole thing is by an artist,
Yeah.
not by government or family members. It's really interesting. What are all the headstones that are here? Were they moved here? Or
No,
were they
this
here?
is 'cause
Was this a cemetery?
that's the
before it was a
church.
park? Oh, okay, so it was a cemetery first.
Yeah.
That's something that always fascinates me. Like going to old cemeteries and seeing
The headstones that are
Just forgotten.
weathered to
yeah.
nothing.
Broken ones as well, you know. Sort of.
Well, and
Yeah.
broken, but so
Yeah.
old, broken
Yeah.
so long ago that they're smooth on top again.
And that's it, you know, it is the terrible tragedy that these were people, these were loved, that their stories. It's sort of quite sweet outtakes, really, that where they were. It was pictures. Thank you. It was outtakes of Victorian photos, and they said, well, because we see these very stern-looking, we always presume that our ancestors were very stern.
But then they do these things like Elizabeth, wife of so-and-so, beloved, beloved, and it's like,
And then they say these outtakes were as they were taking it, and it was the couple breaking up, and you know the sort of fat old man leaning into his lovely wife and laughing and going, yeah. It was the same with this, you know. They had friends, they had families, and this is probably the only way they're remembered, really.
А вот эта стена, это, собственно, памятник, который называется памятник о героическом самопожертвовании. Это очень подходит для англиканской церкви, потому что и сама религия построена на том, что вот это благое благих других. Вот видите, такие плиты, они пришли люди, которые пытаются покинуть других, стать погибли. Скажем, последний лет, 2007 год, молодой человек спасал мальчика ночью в Калай. Мальчик он успел вытащить, а сам не успел. Почему никто не говорил успел? Когда у героев не происходит в жизни, они начинают по-другому смотреть на ценность. То есть, по расчету, сколько
Right. Well, they seem to be enjoying it. No one's burst into tears yet. I don't know really what I was expecting. I'm happy. I think it works. Would have been nice to have more people, but if you're watching this, then credit. I understand you're busy. Pigeon. Have a lot of those around. I guess we're trying to think about what mark we make in the world. The idea that life is a temporary thing. You don't expect to be hit by a train, do you? But so not necessarily the best way to be spending a Sunday morning, but
no, but then you see it and then you kind of look at it and go, you know, we do drama and we tell these stories of completely fictitious people when there's real stories about real people that we could be telling.
And again, I was saying this suggests that it's just a snapshot, you know, the person's death, you know, you don't. Yeah, they had fathers, they had mothers, they had fathers.
So many stories said all the time.
And I think the risk is to oversimplify it, you know, to forget people are people. And I was again mentioning that seeing outtakes from Victorian photos, because we imagine our ancestors as being very stern, but they got the giggles. They got the giggles, and you know, this lovely couple leaning into each other, giggling, and you're like, and it gets, you know, I'm.
The real kind of heart of it and the prosperity, like, because you go to school and you learn about like World War One, you learn about World War Two, and it's like, oh, Germany did this, and so you go, what about the people inside of it? What about these individual things? I mean, we did Oh, What a Lovely War.
Oh yes.
And just like the Battle of the Somme, and like so many, like the brassness of some of the characters just saying, oh, we'll just throw more men at them, and we've worked out that in the end, like if we just keep throwing men at them, they'll have 1,000 people, and we'll have 2,000 people, and we'll have won. It's just like you could just put a number on a human life. It's ridiculous.
And again, the one over there where the boy died vainly trying to save, you know, that's. I guess if you're trying, you know, you're almost like trying to make a balance, which you go, well, you may have lost your life, but at least you saved someone. But just to...
There's one on there that got to me. It was just like he tried to save his drowning fellow and just went down with him in his arms.
Which is your favourite, do you think? Do you want to go back?
I wouldn't say that was a favourite.
Which one? You know, just again, I think.
Odd choice of word.
Yeah.
One did sort of leap out for me. It was that one that said, what's the one with the quotation?
Where is it? Mother. Mother, I saved him, but I couldn't save myself.
But I couldn't save myself.
That gives you just the chills, doesn't it?
But he was 11. So for him to say something like that as he's just been run over.
What
and
were
it's
we
just like,
doing when we were 11? You know.
probably pissing about in the street.
Yeah. I think because I was just sort of talking to myself, walking around with the camera and saying, sort of, you don't get up in the morning and think, right, today's the day I'm going to rush into a shop and pull someone out. You know, it's to just have that.
But it's I don't think you can plan for something
No.
like that. Your body just sort of
Yeah.
reacts. I mean, people have been known to pick people
Pick
up
up,
physically,
yeah.
things, and just like this
Yeah.
one, for example, saving her family and her house by carrying a blazing paraffin. She just looked at it, looked at her house, and was just like, if I don't get this house, everyone's going to go.
I think my
And we
quote.
thought for us to go.
This one, the police officer who ran into a burning building, knowing that there was petroleum in the cellar, that he knew he was going to die, and yet he went in. You know, and I think the other, I'm going to need to download the app to hear more of these stories. But what happened to these people? You know, what happened to this woman? Did she?
Yeah.
Did anyone who was
Well, it says
Yeah.
entered a burning house to
Yeah.
save a woman,
Yeah.
knowing that there was a
Yeah.
problem. Doesn't say if the woman was actually saved or even if she was in the building at the time.
I just
But it's interesting that you have this,
Yeah.
which is naming these people, and then right next to it you have gravestones.
yeah. Well,
And it's like you get little even snapshots of these people. What about these people right here? So, are we going to take enough as much time to research these people as we
do any of these?
people?
You know, just gone.
Exactly, just almost erased.
Yeah, but no, these have been moved. Look, they've just. We like to think we're so important that what we do leaves a mark, and you know,
We'd like to think so.
we'd like to think, you know, we're leaving.
Is that what we do?
Yeah.
Because we want to leave our mark.
Well,
Thinking, oh, I'll become like reasonably famous and possibly leave our mark.
I mean,
on time.
as artists, why are we doing this? Really, you know, what makes us?
Maybe to tell stories like this that have been forgotten.
Yeah.
It's
I
our
think
job to, like almost a historian, but
Yeah.
a historian kind of leaves it where it is. It's supposed to the right person. It's like, oh, do you remember these stories? If you don't remember them, here they are. Let them influence you because you know you've got to learn from history and let it not repeat itself. So if you go, oh, all this stuff has happened in the past, learn from it, take what you can from it.
I think it's interesting that Rob. I think Rob's a bit uncomfortable with this because he's kind of joking, and you know, some of it is a bit ridiculous. But you go, that's
It is, but then how? It is a little bit ridiculous saving somebody's life, like for your own, because you go, okay, it's my life. My life should come before anyone else's. But I'd say in any of these situations, you look at the situation, and you'd probably find yourself, if you were like any sort of decent human being, you'd probably find yourself doing almost exactly the same thing.
But it is an interesting thing of character, you know, sort of. And I think cowardice isn't really the term for it, but you know, the people who freeze, the people, and that's all it takes, a split second, and someone slips, and just small things like I'm reminded when I was young that we were driving through Portsmouth and we pulled over by a seafront, and my sister had a balloon, and you know it came out and she just went after it, and I kind of pulled her back car, and I'm just going, a simple thing like that I could have lost, you know, sort of just you in the right.
You could have been looking completely in a different direction, and
you know, I've lost her, you know.
Supposedly when I was younger, we went to see a Flying and Sam show, and I had like a little plastic hat, and it blew off in the wind, and I tried to go chase after it. My mother like stopped me as the plastic thing just went under a bus and just went.
That's it. this is kind of why I'm doing this, because stories like this. Because from my scratch, it's about sort of situationism, but also about beauty in the streets, and I think that I think this is beautiful. And also, I think weirdly, I like that it's tucked away.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't know about this place.
It's not like touristy or anything like that. Like a tourist group did just come through, but it's not like St. Paul's. It's not right in the middle of the open. It's not kind of like, come see this and we'll charge for it. Or you'll be able to see it. And
I hope
we'll do some kind of thing.
I hope you guys, sort of, if you get a chance, you'll bring people here. I think it's. I mean, it's a little bit unfortunate. Lone Twins already done a show about them, because there's.
It's really interesting.
But there's other,
There's other things in other places.
There's always these stories. It's like that there. Look at them. It's very sweet. Look at them. Yeah. Well, they've had a long night.
Well, they could be just taking in the information, just letting it sit and letting how they feel about it. Or like, as you say, maybe Rob is a little bit joking about it and you just run over and just have it sit down and let it breathe.
Yeah.
Because some people use humour as a...
I don't think he's been disrespectful. I think it's...
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's like the 7 stages of
grief.
5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't grieve in the same way, and you can still spend more time on one.
Do you think I should have given you guys a bit more warning about this? Do you think I kind of... Because I've just... adventure, I said, heroes, but I didn't say it was going to be this intense.
No.
I think I'm happy with it. I think it's... Yeah.
If you'd said, like, we're going to go see a memorial to people that had given, like, self-sacrifice, people would have come with expectations.
Yeah.
If people come with expectations, they can either be, like... You can either come with low expectations and have them raised, or come with high expectations and have them kind of slashed.
I feel like...
If you give people, like, we can go on an adventure, just be prepared.
Yeah. Bring a snack. Exactly. We will have to... Because that's kind of what I was planning. If there were more people, we would have had a bit of a picnic. But, I like, in my work, the idea of... like, I have the fruit parcels, that kind of... Well, we'll eat together. It's nice. It's that community thing. And again,
people can look at it individually and then possibly like go over to where people are sitting and have a talk.
And I quite like with this I've given you each a chance to go off, and there's it's going to be really interesting watching the footage back, and especially interested to see who's watching this. People say, oh, document it. It's I think another thing is, by saying adventure, I think it implies some grandiose, something's going to happen. This is very subtle.
Less of an adventuration, more of an exploration.
I think that's fair. But what had happened is I thought, I really should go here. And I went, you spend a lot of your time going off by yourself. Bring, if you've got friends now who want to come and do... You've got friends now. Yeah.
Let other people know what you're doing, and they're like Lawrence just randomly run you up yesterday and said, like, come do some karate, and I just had me and Janice after our we went to see the theatre, the Serious Business yesterday. We just sat in a coffee shop doing some work before the party. We just
this is exactly what I'm saying. I want intimate moments. I mean, this is slightly different because obviously I'm putting a camera at you, but
it's still intimate. I don't even see it.
No, I think, and that's
otherwise it'd be good.
Yeah, we're all kind of talking. It's just the. But what do you think? Do you want to go? Can we see what they're up to?
Let's go jumping.
Jumping the leaves. Look at them.
Oh,
they're doing things.
Movement.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been inspired.
Yeah. Oh, Jess, her hair just seems to cover everything. When we were doing the Norse piece, you know, she was playing Loki and just the tree kept getting caught. Good sense of community.
Watching the wind blow the leaves down.
That's very nice. You know, I've been saying it's about these little intimate moments, you know. Right place, right time.
Look at the beautiful house that's starting with leaves. Look at that cute little house.
Look at the wonderful, beautiful houses, and then behind it, you've got like a massive
I like
thing of glass.
I like federal style architecture, and that's the closest I've seen. It's not
Federal style.
We should go to
something we invented in America. I'll show you
what's the
pictures.
thing?
It's
The thing.
The White House.
let's go there.
up by the Strands temple, the inner temple.
Yes.
Should we
Yeah.
go to inner temple?
Which temple?
Inner temple.
In a temple.
Inner temple.
In a temple?
Inner temple.
In a temple. In a mini.
In a temple.
Word has lost all meaning.
What's that? Just because you repeat it many, many times doesn't mean I'm going to get it right.
I've got the gambler in my head.
Anyone?
In
What?
an inner temple.
No.
A train bound for no.
Word has lost all meaning.
In a temple. In a temple.
It's a little bit of a vague.
It's no.
Four times now. I now understand.
But is
Word
there
has
is
lost
there
all.
more planned in the adventure? Or
You're just taking us for a wander,
I'm
aren't
just
you?
taking you for a bit of it. We were discussing this. This was more. It wasn't so much an adventure as an exploration.
let's go explore in a temple.
Let's go.
That's a lovely place that's only.
But it's
5
kind of what I'm. Because that's the thing. The situationists were very
there's a couple
into
different kinds of red
psychogeography.
brick
That's
houses.
kind of how I got
Find a
into
lot
it.
of
So
stuff
yes,
Very clean
this
and
is
classic.
very much what I want to do. I've introduced
like
it.
vintage
Let's go to Inner Temple.
Let's go to inner temple. All right, guys.
I don't like
If you guys are happy to carry on.
I've had a bit of a lie down. I feel
Rob's
reinvigorated.
now taking over.
I'm gonna have another polo.
As
It
leader.
was rather sweet, you know, just watching you guys lie on the grass, back to back. It
Oh,
was-
we educated Jess about
You were
Celsius.
telling me science. Make it stop.
Actually, I have a cigarette.
Although I
You're
do
talking
now
about
understand why
photosynthesis,
Fahrenheit is
so-
such nonsense.
Wind currents.
Do we know how Fahrenheit started?
Mr. Fahrenheit.
Mr.
Yes,
Fahrenheit.
Dr.
Doctor.
Fahrenheit.
Dr. Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So he took the temperature of 100 by measuring his blood when he cut himself open and measured his blood as soon as it has left his body. That became 100. And then he put as much salt as he could possibly dissolve into water and then put 0 when that froze.
Little thing pops up. Future
Which
scientist
is
Rob.
why in America the temperature of freezing water is 32.
As opposed to it's just
0.
Celsius. I mean,
Like-
Celsius
like-
makes so much more.
But in summertime it's 90.
But then
Because-
meteorologists use whatever they bloody want to make it sound either hotter or colder. Oh look, it's 97 Fahrenheit.
Not Caddy.
It's like,
Caddy comes on the screen and she says, right, Celsius, I'm not having any of this shit. Love our Caddy.
All right.
it's minus 37
tell you what.
Fahrenheit. Oh, do you mean it's?
Do you think we should keep filming?
People, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Do you feel you've got enough?
I think I've got. Let's start again when we. No, actually, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. It's all.
I don't want to.
No, go ahead.
Yay!
The journey.
So,
What's our mega objective, Tom?
Mega objective remains. We are finding the beauty in the street.
No, it's not the magic.
No, we're not looking for magic or. Well, we can't write
depending on, well, no, I've had experience with this connecting before. And you notice how the ground actually kind of come back to where the water sort of flows over. I mean, this stuff gets very brittle when it's cold.
Yeah.
So that's essentially happened because the water's fallen on it and just kind of
Scientist Rob. Good throw. I didn't see. He's practicing.
Alright, so, in a
Good at
temple,
throwing things.
Terrible at throwing.
interesting thing about Inner Temple is that because of its architectural design,
It's actually
It's
inside a temple.
it's
Oh, there you
despite
go.
being surrounded by very busy streets, it's actually one of the quietest outside areas in the city of London.
So Tom, no farting.
I'm doing my best.
Danny, we're surrounded by boys.
Dirty, dirty boys. Hey, I'm wearing a tie.
I'm
You are. You're very down.
I'm wearing a
Yesterday's
tuxedo.
You and I are
I've got a onesie in my bag. So I beat you all.
That's very true.
I was dedicated to making sure everyone got home.
and now you smell like cigarettes.
You were the gentleman who slept on the floor and then just went, actually, it's too cold.
You must feel terrible.
know how I smell. I check myself.
Actually, it's like you.
Both.
It's something that like, you can't actually.
That's a load of bollocks.
I know.
You get used to it.
And by smelling, you can see it on the faces of people as well.
Also, somehow, I was never on my boxes. I have no idea how it's bloody done.
On your boxers.
My,
Oh, your boxers.
Boxers.
See, this all happens depends on baby faces.
naked faces.
I bet you asked I'm Danny like
From
I bet she's got pictures of you with like a mustache.
So wait, you got top tailing? That's unpleasant for her.
fine, I put my feet on.
Oh, that was the problem. I was being a gentleman when I stuck my naked body next to
I was being told like let me do it.
Hey, she could have been attacked by under-bed monsters.
Yeah.
Because protecting her.
And frankly, she was still that happy about the fact that there was no relationship going anywhere between the two of us.
You realise we're going to play this footage when you guys get married? Lawrence goes, I'm so glad there's no relationship than her with a little bouquet.
What was that, Lawrence? What did you say? Talking about how Danny and I have both agreed that there's nothing there, and Danny's quite ecstatic about it. Apparently she's been worried from sitting past. It's like, oh, what if he thinks I'm leading him on, bloody bastard. Darling, if I were hitting on you, you'd probably have realised by now.
Not so
If I was hitting on you, you'd already be in bed.
For a meal. What kind of a man do you think I am?
You're taking us to the finest numbers.
Where are we going? Are we crossing?
Tuppence.
Tuppence a bag.
That was Walt Disney's favourite song.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. You got Walt Disney.
Which one?
Tuppence a bag. You'd get the Sherman Brothers to play it.
It was played at his funeral and a single bird came down.
At his funeral, and his head freezing.
Yep, his head freezing. Cryogenics.
The other interesting thing is the old woman. She was a great sort of music hall star,
she was.
and she was scared that everyone had forgotten her. But so many stories about making of Mary Poppins are just so terribly sad. Like
But so beautiful at the same time.
The I think it was Robert Sherman was one of the GIs who was there when Auschwitz was stood. So he got the Jews out and just it ripped him apart. But he just didn't want to think about it. He didn't want to talk about it. It's like we were saying earlier. You just find these little fragments of stories.
Well, Michael died almost immediately after it finished filming.
Yeah.
He overdosed on drugs. He got into drugs through Mary Poppins. Oh, another interesting.
And the who's the head of the
Roman Catholics?
no the head of the church, the bishop.
Archbishop Catholic.
No, as in the head of the one specific church.
Oh, it's the St. Paul's. It's the
Bunch of
Bishop
religious
of Dice.
Whoever,
Anyway,
that guy.
the person in charge, he resigned because he knew that the board of the church had closed it intentionally to try to guilt the occupiers and to turn public opinion against them. And he knew that they didn't need to close, so he actually quit in protest.
That's really interesting.
Because there was no reason for them to close their doors, and it was just a power play by them to get all the dirty hippies off of there.
There we are.
Religious figures.
was pretty nice religious. Nicholas Borgia, he was a nice guy.
Cesare
Borgia. He was a murdering, psychopathic bastard who became a pope. In the 7th.
No, yeah, the
Renaissance.
Renaissance, so about 1600s.
1600.
Yeah. If you play Assassin's Creed, you're gonna learn all about Cesare.
A lot of my history comes from there. Age of Empires.
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires.
Red Street?
Yep.
Y'all do make
We do make the best
And as I said, it was just random.
Bloody Baker Street.
Pudding Lane.
Pudding Lane.
Pudding Lane, yes.
I'm fairly sure that's...
Well, there's the little golden buoy around here somewhere, right? Which is the furthest extent that the fire went to. Between monuments. So again, this is I like having you around, Jess, because I can tell you facts, and I don't need to feel guilty that I don't even feel like you know that already.
I don't know any of it.
So monument is a monument to the Fire of London, and so between monument and the Golden Buoy, which is around here somewhere, that marks the extent of the fire and how far it spread. So from monument to where the Golden Buoy is.
Let's look at the map. Lawrence will do the sensible thing.
It's somewhere in this general region.
Let's see. Looking for Big Ben. I think we're not all supposed to call it Elizabeth Tower.
Elizabeth Tower.
So you go, you know it's just the bell. Yes, but now we're supposed to call it. I think that's great. The Queen was on Twitter. She sent a tweet the other day, which if anyone's watching this in the future, you can pretty much tie it down to this exact moment, snapshot in time.
I would have been worried.
What, where Tom got run over by a skateboard?
Hell of a way to die.
I just about got that on film, so worst case scenario we do with this film is we sell it to You've Been Framed and we get 250 quid.
There's a bit of me that wishes that one of us will become really successful, so you go, hey, got footage.
Exactly, there you are.
And by that time I've got addicted to meth and my teeth are falling out, and I'll go, I've got footage though!
I was famous once!
Of, well, what was it? Dragon Chunder.
Oh, there's an interesting thing over there. What's that over there? Is that a World War I monument? Over there? I think it is. Tate!
I just thought it was a nice kind of snapshot.
There's a lot of there's a lot of things in the city that sort of are hidden away. I guess because it's so tightly packed that things get lost very easily.
It's very hard to know where something is in relation to other things. For ages, when I went to Trafalgar Square, I didn't know Trafalgar Square went straight onto Buckingham Palace Road.
Yeah.
For ages, I was like, oh wait a minute, those two things are connected.
It's the great advantage of just being a wanderer. Let's go. I've got an hour to kill. Where will this way?
So the City of London has one of the most peculiar governance structures, especially, well, in England particularly, but this is not doing any favours to my hangover.
Either. You can look over the top of your glasses.
There we go.
Just black.
That's really interesting over there, Jess, but unfortunately you can't see it.
You can't see it. And mind the lamppost.
So one of the most interesting governance structures, essentially.
So this is like Jess meets England today.
So not only do persons living in the City of London get a vote, but also businesses with more than 500 people also get a vote. They vote for ombudsman. And the so an ombudsman, it goes back to the day of the guilds. And so an ombudsman. All right, no, that's actually how the
Go inside. I don't think you're right to feel something.
Yeah.
That's not the golden boy. Mayor of London.
Oh,
So not as in Boris Johnson.
it's
but as in-
representative democracy. The mayor of London, not the prime minister.
No, well, not the mayor of the City of London. So the Lord Mayor. The Lord Mayor is different.
The Mayor of London is
Is the city of London a district? Or it's like a city within a city?
It's a city within. It's like New York is within New York. So you've got New York City in New York. You've
New
got
York
London
State.
in Greater London.
God.
And when they actually swear the Lord Mayor in, they have this thing called the silent ceremony. So it's a 3-hour event, and nobody talks throughout the whole thing. And I've always wanted to go, and I know someone who's connected to the Furniture Guild. And there's a chance maybe in the next few years that I'll be able to
Walk in there and go, alright!
through her, because she gets invited because she's connected to the Furniture Guild.
All right, everyone, one table.
So she gets invitations to the silent ceremony.
That's really neat.
And he lives. His house is a manor house. That's where the Lord Mayor lives. He has this very plush kind of swanky apartment.
So the Lord Mayor it's an honorific more than it is anything else.
Oh, okay.
And there's a gourmet burger kitchen.
I know, I was just eyeing the Pizza Express.
Should we go and get food? I think food is probably
We go in
a good
St
idea.
Paul's while we're
St.
here.
Paul's first, and then
You have to-
food.
Yes,
you have to
I
pay.
think I would go to St. Paul.
You have to
think so.
You're allowed to go and worship, but there's
Let's go and worship.
a charge to visit people during the day.
How much?
We're students.
Then here's my thought about it. Can we go peek in for a minute?
Yeah, let's peek in.
But I would come back and pay when I have more time to really wonder. And I'm the only. Well, no. Rob, I keep forgetting.
How do you know all this stuff?
He's not actually from New Zealand.
So rude.
Sunday.
Today is the time to prepare your welcome to worship with any
There's no
service.
sightseeing. So we can only if we went in.
With us.
If we went in,
No
it's just
sightseeing. Oh, I don't. Yeah.
We can peek through the door.
Let's go
Yeah.
peek through the door.
Let's have a little peek. I'll turn off the camera for modesty's sake.